Hello guys, welcome again to Python tips. So today we will be looking at Python functions. We will look at how to define and call functions. We'll look at how to define functions with parameters and return their values. And we'll also look at lambda functions. So basically, we can think of a function like you know a uh, a reusable block of code designed to perform a specific task. So functions can also become mini programs within a larger program, and with functions can help in improving or breaking down a program into smaller and manageable parts. Function can also be reusable, meaning that um, functions can be called multiple times within a program, reducing code duplications. That is why functions are very important. So defining functions in Python use keywords, which is def, and uh, and then also takes in arguments and then return their values. A good way we can have it is if we want to define a function, we start with that def keyword and then we give the function name. We can pass the parameter we want to use in that function. We have the function body and then we have like a return value. Let's take, for example, mathematically, most of us have seen this both in junior and senior secondary school, even in the university, where most of the times you are given a function like f of x is equals to x plus 3, and then you are asked to evaluate f of 2, which is just wherever you see x, we are replacing it with 2, so it should be 2 plus 3, which is equals to 5. Same with the case of f of 3, which is 3 plus 3, which is equals to 6. But how can we solve these kind of problems in mathematics? So here we are having functions with parameters and return values. That is the kind of function we are having here as the mathematical function, because the parameter that the function has here is x, and then it's going to return every value, whether you want to evaluate f of 2, f of 3, it is going to return that value, adding what? 3 to it. So let's say we start by defining a function which is called what? Compute x, but since we want to evaluate f of x is equals to x plus 3, we are returning what? X plus 3. Remember, initially 2 plus 3 here is 5, so if I now do print, call that function to compute f of 2, we are going to have what? 5. Same with f of 3 now becomes what? Becomes 6. As I did mention, functions are very, very common and important in programming because it reduces code duplication. If you are going to perform a task related to that kind of mathematical operation, you only need to call that function to reuse it. You don't need to keep, computing this kind of processes in, manually. So another thing we can see is more maybe in temperature conversions. Most of us have our phones. When we switch temperatures to Fahrenheit, we switch them to Celsius. We basically use functions. They are just like a base calculator where you can look at, okay, what will be the temperature in this location today? This is based on this kind of programming aspects. Let's say I want to convert a temperature from Celsius to convert temperature to Celsius. Now I can define that function and then I'll pass that parameter there, Celsius, so that if I give any temperature value in Celsius, it's going to give me that conversion. So at when the temperature is 0, definitely I'm going to have what? 32. Now, another thing we can have, which is common, like if I want to like maybe halos or greet someone, I can define a function for that. Maybe when you're opening a website, you see hello world, it could just be a basic function that has been defined. Or maybe when you're opening something that you've created an account with, it says welcome with your name on it. It is something which is defined, maybe like a greeting function. So I can just do define greet, I pass your name, and then I say return hello with that word, with this dictionary, meaning that if I pass a name here, it will simply say what? Hello with that person's name. Now I use hello Alice, I passed it a name which is Alice, and then it's returning what? Hello Alice. I can try greet. I can try greet. I pass in my name, Gerard, and then I run this line of code. We are seeing it is now saying what? Hello Gerard. So we can keep reusing this kind of function every time we want to say anything like hello with someone's name. We can just call that function and use it. Another common way we can do, like maybe if I want to write a function that returns the addition of two numbers, rather than just saying because it's manually, I will do 3 plus this is equals to this and all the like. It is a manual process. You can write a function so that every time you want to do the addition of maybe anything, you can just call that function and reuse it. Now, we also have functions where we have default parameters in that function. Like in the case of the greet function, I can basically give the name as what? Guess. Then when I just go and call that function greet without passing any parameter to it, because I've given it a default parameter, it is going to return what? Hello, guess. Now, another common kind of function that we have is what we call the lambda function. The lambda function is like a small anonymous function that is mostly used maybe if you want to perform an operation we will see in a data frame, and you do not want to keep maybe write a basic function that you keep calling all the time to perform that task, like in the case of addition. So it's just a small anonymous function. If you are doing some data processing, you just want to write a small function to perform an operation for you, which is not a global function that you have to keep calling every time. So most of the functions that we have been seeing above, we can call them global functions because we can call them within our program and reuse it. But most of the time with lambda functions, you can also do that. But lambda functions are mostly used when we want to maybe use it just within a particular task and not recall it again. We use lambda functions for such cases a lot. Now, lambda functions can take any number of arguments, but can only have one word, expression. The syntax of a lambda function is start with lambda, argument, and then what? The expression. Let's look at a regular function where we are looking at the square of numbers. So if we take in x and we want to just return the square of that value, if I do print square, the tab key is going to return that square for you. Let me just do 4 and then I run it. Now the square of 4 is what? Is 16. So let me go back, already called it here. So if I want to do the equivalent of this lambda function, I can just do square of lambda. I define lambda and I'll say what? X is that expression. And what do I want to do? I want to multiply by x by itself. So you see that we can do this either as a regular function, which is a global function, or we can do this as a small anonymous function that we can use within our data processing or anything we are trying to do. So if I run this, we are having the same value, but this function is quite smaller as well and anonymous as compared to these global functions we have been having. Now we can do lambda functions with what we call mapping. Like let's say if I want to a list of numbers from 1 to 4, and then I want to get the square of those numbers. What I can do is I can just do list, I map, because I want to square every value in that in that list without looping through the list as we saw yesterday. I can just do map lambda x raised to the power 2 with what? And pass in that list. So if I do this and print, I will see that everything in that list